This is Laura Rogers. Welcome to SharePoint Power Hour. This is a live Google Hangout that we do every Wednesday at 11 Central. And it's all about business solutions. It's all about things that you can do in SharePoint without having to write code and without having to go to Central Admin. And so there are a plethora of topics that we have around anything. Pretty much, it's wide open. SharePoint, we could do BI, we do business solutions, workflows, forms, out-of-the-box functionalities, just in user interface. We talk about things like governance. We talk about social. We do just demos of anything we want to do every week. And this is my team of coworkers from Rackspace, and I'll go ahead, and today's session is going to be an HR onboarding workflow business solution that I'm going to demo, and I'll go ahead and let everybody introduce themselves first, though. Andy?
Sure. My name's Andy Wessendorf, and I'm part of the business solutions team. I've been doing SharePoint consulting for a little over 4 years now, and I work a lot with InfoPath and a lot of the stuff that we're going to cover today.
Mike?
Good afternoon, everybody. Mike Glisson here. I'm also on the BS team at Rackspace. Been working with SharePoint for a little bit over 10 years and a little bit of InfoPath, so I'm looking forward to watching Laura's presentation today.
Joelle, we missed you, a couple of you last week.
Hello, everybody. I'm Joelle Farley. I am actually on our custom dev team, but I have worked with business solutions over the past several years and worked with things like InfoPath and workflows and all that fun stuff. And I'm joined today by Lola. So everybody say hi to Lola. She was crying at my door, so I figured I'd go, make her stop crying. All right.
And Tavis.
Hello everyone, my name is Tavis Lovell, and I'm also on the Business Solutions team, specializing mainly in business intelligence within SharePoint. And I've been doing stuff around for a little over 8 years, and looking forward to Laura's presentation today.
All right. Okay, so my presentation today came from, basically, I did this session at SP TechCon last month, and the idea was to quickly breeze through just some out-of-the-box ways that approvals exist in SharePoint, and then go into a more custom one. And the out-of-the-box ways are like content approval and just task process and out-of-the-box workflows and stuff like that. And then it ended up being, there were, I guess, a lot of people that were new to SharePoint in the session, and a lot of questions and things about just the out-of-the-box things that had been around for 5 or 6 years that I just took for granted, that I ended up having to cram all the stuff about the HR onboarding workflow into the very end, like 15 or 20 minutes. And that was, to me, that was going to be like the meat of the presentation. So what I'm going to do next time is just have 2 separate presentations, basically, because this HR onboarding is going to be the advanced part. So what I'm doing here today is I'm going to dive straight into this advanced concepts. So I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen and get right into it. Let's see. Let me make sure I've got all the right screens in the right places. Okay, so share that screen, and then I'll put my PowerPoint. I'll quickly go through a couple of slides. Let me make sure it's showing it on the right monitor. There we go. So this is going to be, I'm just going to quickly breeze through a couple of these. Can y'all see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay.
There's the green icon in the Hangout for screen share.
Oh, okay. So I must have clicked to share my screen and then finish sharing it. And now I've got all this stuff in front of the screen share button. Let me try that again. Okay. Screen share. Full screen. Start. There. Okay. So I'm just going to breeze through some of these first slides that I had just to get them out of the way.
And yeah, we can see it now.
Thank you. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we have approval options in SharePoint, task process pros and cons, and then real-world workflow is the main meat of this. So just some real quick, some factors that we consider whenever we have to start doing a business process. Usually it starts with the business coming to you and saying, here we have this form that people fill out or a spreadsheet that people fill out, let's automate it, but it ends up being a lot of times a whole site revolving around it, or at least a whole set of forms, workflows, tasks, and all kinds of stuff. So some factors to consider are going to be whether there are parallel and serial portions of the workflow. Talk about user interface planning, which is what goes where and where are people going to click and how are they going to get to things and what are they going to see. And then do we have task dependency on other tasks in this business process? And then what are the outcomes? Do we have people approving, rejecting things versus just saying they completed a task? So for parallel and serial tasks, this is just a little visualization of kind of some things that we see. This one on the bottom is very simple. It's task 1 happens, then task 2 gets assigned and it gets finished, then task 3 gets assigned. That's serial. That's very simple. A lot of the out-of-the-box stuff, workflow type things we can do in SharePoint really address those simple, straightforward processes. But the top one is going to be more of like what we see in a lot of real-world scenarios, which is task 1 happens, which assigns task 2 and 3 at the same time, but then tasks 4 and 5 can't get assigned until after task 2 gets completed, and then etc. And then a lot of times something has to happen, and you have to know whether tasks 4, 5, and 6 all got completed, or you have little conditions here and there, and so it can get really messy really quickly, especially the more meetings the business has, right? The more they start talking about what the actual process is. So we have our user interface planning that you have to do around, besides the actual automation that's going to happen, where are they going to go, what are they going to see, how are they going to get there. So there's this tool, Balsamiq, B-A-L-S-A-M-I-Q, that is a mock-up tool that, like, this is a screenshot of what it could look like, so you could build out your pages using that, and that way you can show it to the business and talk to them about what things would need to look like, and at least give them ideas by starting off with something instead of just a blank sheet of paper. You guys, again, feel free to ask questions as we go. There's a little Q&A button. If you're watching this in YouTube, it will take you over to the Google Hangout Q&A app. And so I'd like this to be an interactive session. So we've got 33 viewers. You guys speak up if you'd like to. So plan out the user interface. And then also another consideration is this task branching and dependencies thing. So this is the process I'm going to be building out in this demo. People submit a form, a manager has to approve it, and then we have 3 parallel tasks that happen. HR has to send a welcome packet when you have a new hire, IT has to create a user account, and then the phone department has to set up their phone. And then after all 3 of those get completed, then you have a condition in here. If the person's an IT employee, this extra task has to get done, and then HR approves it, and then the person goes through orientation, and then you're done. So I'm going to build out this whole solution around this. It's really it's kind of fun and easy building out requirements, like in putting together a solution when you just make up the requirements yourself. Kind of enjoyed that. I didn't have to worry about anybody giving me any feedback. So, all right. So here again, another concept about outcomes. Some tasks are actually approvals where they can approve and reject something. So you'd actually have to account for what would happen according to each different outcome. But some things are just going to be tasks that people have to mark that they completed the task. So like this first one is an approval. These next 3 are tasks that they just complete. This is another task that gets completed, and then HR is an actual approval, and then orientation is a task. So you have them all kind of mixed in there. All right, so these are just real quick what the options are that you have in SharePoint. Super simple, out of the box. Most simple thing that exists is just constant approval, which is something that exists in the versioning settings of any list and library. You can turn on constant approval, and then that list or library can be moderated, and people have to approve everything that gets added or edited. Out-of-the-box workflows that we have that are 2010, even the ones in SharePoint 2013 are still the same exact 2010 out-of-the-box workflows. And then we have task actions in SharePoint Designer workflows, which is the task process designer. And that is it's a little different from 2010 to 2013, but it's still a canned, out-of-the-box task with, so it's got some cool things that it can do, but it's got its own set of sort of restrictions, things that you definitely can't do. And then we have what we're going to go over today, which is custom tasks and complex processes, which is very advanced. So good thing this is being recorded, so if I go too fast through something, you can always just, anybody can just go rewind it and pause it or whatever you need to do. Those poor people in my SP TechCon session were not that lucky. Okay, so task process pros and cons. So this is that task process, task action that I just mentioned that exists in SharePoint Designer workflows. It's got pretty much the same pros and cons, mostly, for the most part, in 2010 and 2013. Pros are that it's easy setup, easy interface. It's got built-in notification emails. It's got all this, nice canned information in there and stuff that you just turn it on and it just works. Overdue reminders, they just work. You can assign tasks to all the individuals in a group. It could split out a group if you want to, or just assign tasks to the whole group as a whole. And then you have configurable task completion criteria, which is kind of cool, where you can say, do you want it to end on the first rejection? Do you want it to say consider approved when at least 60% of the approvers approve it, and just little extra things like that you can configure. The cons, which are the reason we're doing a custom one in this demo, are you can't set extra task field values, which means you can't have a lookup relationship to the task list. So I like to have, in my task list, I like to have a lookup field that takes me to that whatever that original item was. So I have an actual relationship between the new hire list item itself and the tasks associated with that new hire. Unfortunately, tasks delete themselves automatically after 60 days when you use the Task Process Designer. It's difficult to do multiple task titles and descriptions. So, for example, if in your process you have parallel tasks, but one person has to be told that they have to set up the welcome packet, one person has to be told that they are supposed to set up someone. Can you all mute yourselves, please? Another person has to set up the IT account, another person has to set up the phone account. Well, those are all parallel tasks. They all happen at the same time, but they all have different titles and descriptions. So you can't really do that with the Task Process Designer. Everybody just gets the exact same thing. So that's why I said parallel task challenges in here. So this is why we get to real-world scenarios where the Task Process Designer and any of the out-of-the-box canned stuff doesn't work for you. And then you go off on your own, and it's still possible to do this. You just have to, it takes a little bit more time. It's a little bit more work involved, but it's possible. So what I do is I never use the Task Process Designer. I can't stand it anymore because it's too restrictive. I use the Create List Item action to create tasks in my workflow. That way, all task fields are configurable, even a lookup. So I'll create a lookup field in the task list to whatever the original item is. Do that, and then as I'm creating each task, I can set whatever fields I want to whatever values I want to. Not restricted. And I can create logic to determine if the task exists already. I can, with a lookup to the original item, that way I can have dashboards. So that way you've got the relationship that exists, so you can do web part connections. And then I can determine if parallel tasks have been completed. I can even, our task assignees filling in task fields, I can give them extra fields. I can give some tasks different fields than other tasks using content types. And I can send task info back to the original form. So that way, for example, in this case, if I want someone to fill in, create the new hire's user account and then complete the task, in the task itself, I can just give them a box that says, here, fill in what the new hire's user account is, and then hit the complete button. That way they don't have all these multiple places they have to go. You can actually make that task right back to the original item and send that information there automatically. And then you can also create, since, with the Task Process Designer, you get that whole automated emails thing built in. But with this one, you have to do it yourself. So what you can do is create a workflow on the task list itself, and then create the task notification email there. that way, as soon as a task gets created, you can just make the workflow so that it sends the email to the person about their task. So here again is our new hire process. We're going to have a form, manager approval, 3 things happen in parallel, then we have a condition, something different happens for IT people, then we have HR approval, and then the person goes through orientation and you're done. I've got a question for you guys in the audience. Now this is something that I could talk really fast and cram a whole bunch of it into the next, whatever I have left, 45 minutes, and show you around what I've already built and show you kind of click around and show you kind of how stuff works and show you what the dashboards look like and show you how I built them and show you all the fields and show you the workflow. Or I could demo the existing thing, show it to you, and then actually build it out from scratch. So do you want me to try and cram everything into this hour and show you everything that exists and walk you through the workflow, or do you want me to do this over several weeks and build out the whole thing from scratch and create each field and build the workflow from scratch and go through all the different sort of troubleshooting that you would go through when you build an entire business process? So you guys use the Q&A or the comments or whatever, and I see we have 39 people watching. So hopefully someone's got opinions about which way they'd want to see this, if they want me to hurry through it or if they want me to have a several week-long process of building it out. Anyone? Are they saying anything yet?
I see nothing.
They're very shy.
You need like a poll app.
Is there one?
No, I don't think so.
Cool effects, control room. Y'all can look, like flip through the apps if you want and see if there is one while I are y'all
even if there was, I think it would just be for the people in the actual hangout as opposed to watching the broadcast, unfortunately.
Okay, so Andy Honeycutt says build out the whole thing from scratch over a few weeks. Carlos says cram it all in. And then we have a +2, so you can actually put your little plus, put your little +1 next to one of these 2 guys' comments in the Q&A. That way everybody doesn't have to type out their answers. Or you could just, okay, so here we go. Y'all help me figure out what they're doing.
A couple comments in the YouTube. Mike Ontko says, hurry, hurry, hurry. And Laura Macias Fritsch says, build it from scratch, please.
So y'all use the little +1 button on other people's comments so that we can count them up. Okay.
It looks pretty overwhelmingly start to finish.
Build the whole thing from scratch. We have 4 people saying cram it all in.
Yep.
And then, okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the whole thing, and then I'm going to build it from scratch. Next week I'll be out because I'll be teaching training. So I'll be teaching a training class, a SharePoint Power Users class all week, and I do that once a month. But then I can pick up and do it, you know, the next time that I do presentation, and we'll just go do it over time. Okay.
And Matthew Carter from Twitter says build from scratch.
All right, so I'm going to say that I answered all these questions in the Q&A and mark them all answered. And it looks like they've pretty much voted to build it out from scratch. So I'm going to just mark these all off so that they disappear from my console. Okay. Done. All right, so. Get my site pulled up. All right. Here's my HR onboarding site. And this is a promoted links list where I've got quick little ways that people can get to different parts of it. Here's the form to fill out a new hire form. Let's see the ones in progress. See tasks that are assigned to me, and then if I'm ready to go to orientation, there's documents around that. There's a library around that. So I'll go ahead and fill out and create a new hire. I'm going to say, who's my new hire? Jackie. And she's not going to be into IT. She's going to be in sales. Blah, blah, blah. Can make up some information here. She lives in Orlando, etc., etc. Got an employee type because I can do something in my workflow as to where if they're an executive, it will expedite it, you know, and give them like tighter due dates. So that's why kind of what I built that out for, so we can delve into that too. And then who's the hiring manager? I'm going to say that I'll say that Shane is the hiring manager. This is in my VM, by the way. All right, save. So that's my first new hire. And then I'm going to go to my new hires in progress and see. Oh, this is going to make me. I hate it when it does this when I have people fields. And sorry about my keyboard being so loud, by the way.
It prompts you for passwords when you have people fields?
Not people fields, but when I have like all the pictures. So what I did was, I have all the people, see right here where it says hiring manager and it pulls all the people's pictures. It's authenticating over to my.contoso.com or whatever. So it's doing that. It's prompting me for every single picture. Anyway, so that's a people field that I made show the picture. All right, so here's my list. It looks like I've put Jackie in here before. I'm going to delete that old one so that I don't get confused when I'm doing this demo, just by the way. I thought I was trying to think of somebody that I hadn't put in here yet. All right, so new hire status is new. And then I've got right here this new hire, add, or edit. That's the workflow. And so that's telling me what stage of the workflow I'm in. So I can go dig into there and I can see it started and it's an activity in progress. So this is running on my VM. So this is one thing in SharePoint 2013 workflows is that you can have this little information thing. Sometimes that's where you're going to see errors too. So I'm going to just hit refresh because it might just take a few minutes, take a minute to for this workflow to actually kick off, since this is the first workflow I've run in my VM today, I guess. But what it's doing is it's going to manager approval, and it's the first task, as we saw in the diagram, is that it's going to assign a task for a manager to approve or reject this new hire. Still in progress. All right. Rachel says, will you blog at a later date how you created the hire manager people field? Rachel, I'm going to build this whole thing out from scratch. So I'm going to start with a blank site, and I'm going to build this field by field for you. So right now, I'm just demoing it. Oh, let me select that while I'm answering it. So I'm going to build the whole thing out. Right now, I'm just demoing the whole thing, and then I'm going to start from scratch. Cool. And then Matthew says, what type of site is this? A team site? Yes, it's a team site. All right, so let me mark a couple of these other ones as answered. All right, let's just refresh this and see if it's finished yet. Oh, come on, seriously? Let me go ahead and pull up my workflow and show you what it's doing. Just because I know it's going to go, it's just taking a minute. I'm not going to get impatient with it and do anything to it. So let me go back to my list of new hires. Still going. Okay, so let me go show you in SharePoint Designer my workflow. So this is called new hire, add, or edit. New hire, add, or edit right here. And go hit edit workflow. You can see that there's a good bit to it in here. So this is why it's going to be beneficial for me to start from scratch and build it line by line and show you why I'm doing different things, as opposed to just kind of showing you this and it being a little overwhelming. But I still wanted to at least show you the whole thing, like actually running. Oh my goodness. Poor SharePoint. whatever. All right. So what it's doing is I've got several in here that I can just go look at since it's taken a few minutes. I've got some that are in progress with, like this one is also in the manager approval stage. So it says this one completed, status is new. Now it doesn't say much else in here, does it? It's because I didn't put a ton of logging. So logging is going to be one of the major tips and tricks that I was kind of going to do it as I go during the demo, but logging is one of the things that if you don't put logging in your workflow, you're not going to have much information on this workflow screen. So this one completed and went to manager approval. So let's go see what happened around this new hire called Corey Emmons. HR approval. Let me see. Hold on. I'm just confusing myself now. I'm throwing myself way off because I wanted this one to work, and it's trying to kick off. That's frustrating. One thing that I did yesterday that I might have impacted my farm is that I reverted to a previous snapshot, but in my VM. But I don't think that normally would break workflows because it looks like it's actually running. It's not erroring out. Okay, so what I've got stages in my workflow that are named. So set fields and variables. Then I've got manager approval, and naming these stages is actually helpful when I'm looking to see what stage it's in when I'm looking at the whole list of the new hires, because I've got this setting here that it's new in 2013 that says automatically update the workflow status to this current stage name. So you don't have to do this, but it's helpful so that you don't have. This is 2013. Sorry, this is 2013, Suzanne. So this is the 2013 workflow. This whole thing's going to be done in 2013. You don't have to do this, but it's helpful to kind of get in the habit of naming your stages. So what it's going to do is it's going to go to manager approval, and that person is going to get a task assigned to them to approve somebody. So I'm going to go ahead and find one in here that's manager approval. Approve new hire. Just go look at it. All right, so it says, please approve or reject this new hire. And the person actually has approve and reject buttons. One of the kind of negative things in 2013 is that the person that's going to do something in the task actually has to hit edit task before they're going to see their approve and reject buttons. And unfortunately, then when they hit edit task, they have the ability to edit all the other fields, which I really, in the real world, I wouldn't want them to be able to edit all the fields. I would want them just to hit an approve or reject button and maybe make a comment. So, and I'll show you one that hasn't been completed yet and what that would look like. Here's an approval one. So I have to hit edit item, and then that's when I get my approved and rejected buttons. So that's what the interface is going to look like when they get prompted to do the HR approval for somebody. I'm going to go back. Check again to see if this one got kicked off. It's really frustrating. Okay, click on it again. Started. Okay, whatever. And then what happens next is the tricky part. So after the manager approves it, then I have 3 things that are going out in parallel. So I have 3 tasks that are getting assigned at the same time. And that's going to be those 3 around setting up the user account, sending out the HR welcome packet, and then setting up the phone. So since those 3 get sent out at the same time and they're getting assigned to 3 different people or SharePoint groups, the tricky part is not creating those 3 tasks. The tricky part is determining how to know when all 3 tasks have been completed. So I'll go ahead and look at one. Let's see, we've got some in here that have tasks that haven't been completed around like setting up a phone. So this one was, that one was going to, it's an old one. Can you confirm that you no longer get the task approval form within Outlook in 2013, says Carlos. You can no longer get to the task approval form. I'm not sure what you mean can't get to it. Okay, actually, I think this is the screen that I was looking for. I think it got assigned. It's just running, and so I was just thinking that it hadn't been assigned yet. I'm sorry. So here's the Jackie, the new hire. Don't worry, I know this is confusing, but I'm going to do it again. Here's the new hire. Here's her dashboard, and I see that that first task did get assigned. Okay. Edit item. Approve it. So Carlos, I'm not sure what you mean by I can no longer get task approval form within Outlook in 2013, because you can always just send somebody a link to your task. All right,
Yeah.
so Shane, what was that, Andy?
I agreed with you.
Shane approved it. So now we have the next stage is onboarding in progress. So what was confusing me was that it said the workflow was running, and it didn't occur to me to go look and see that the task had actually been completed. So I just was thinking in my head that it hadn't, that it was stuck. So stupid me. All right. So this is the dashboard that I'm going to also show you when I build the whole thing out. This is a dashboard for Jackie Driscoll, and this is all the tasks that are assigned around that one new hire. So now I can see them grouped by things that got completed and things that haven't been started. And I can see who things are assigned to. Okay, Carlos said in 2010 you get a button in Outlook when you get a task that brings you to the task. Carlos, in 2013, they give you a hyperlink to the task inside of the task email so that you don't rely on having a button in Outlook, because not everybody uses Outlook. So you can still get to the task. It's not that much different. But in this case, I'm using create list item to create my task, so you're not going to get that anyway. I'm manually going to create the emails and manually put a hyperlink in that email that people get when they get a task assigned to them. I'm going to do that all myself from scratch. Okay, set up user account. I'll go ahead and mark things as completed for people. So I'm going to hit edit item and say completed. Oh, I have to say what the account is. So since it was my job to actually set up that person's user account, I have to put that account from Active Directory in this field as part of my task. And when I complete my task, it's going to write that value over to the new hire form to a field that exists in that original new hire form. I'm not sure why that it's giving me that error.
Did you already test this one and then
Oh,
you made it?
yeah. So I've got a unique value to be set in there. Oh, good grief. I'm just trying to find somebody that I haven't done yet there. All right, I just want to be able to complete that task. Okay. Now I have a couple that are completed, a couple that haven't been started. Sending the welcome packet is not going to require them to fill out any fields. It's just going to be, they say that they did it, so they hit completed. And then one more, set up the new phone. So in this task, I'm going to actually have the phone field that they have to fill out. And hit completed. So for all these different types of tasks, some that have the approved and rejected, some have a completed, some have different fields they have to fill out. I'm doing that all via content types, and I'm not doing anything with InfoPath in here. Matthew says, can you have a selection of users like 5 in progress? Selection of users, no, because you would, if you're using a people field, it lets you pick from a SharePoint group, but not really like a drop-down box or anything, selection of users. That's just not how a people picker works. Okay, trying to answer people's questions as I go since I've got plenty of time. No, Matthew, I don't know of any way that you could do that. It would maybe have to be a custom drop-down box or something like that, but it wouldn't be a people picker. All right, so now I've gotten the 3 parallel tasks completed, so my workflow should be moving on to look at that. So now HR approval tasks got created automatically since all 3 tasks got completed, and now HR is going to say, sure, that person's approved, so I'll click the approve button, And then I'm just staying on this person's dashboard, and I'm just basically refreshing it. And now they have to go complete orientation, and that's due 6/4. So the due date for that is a little bit further out, isn't it? So I'll go say, all right, I'm going to go complete my orientation. I'm done. And then refresh it again. And now new hire status is completed, so that person has been onboarded and all their tasks are completed. So, yay, all right. So I don't know what I wasn't really thinking when I thought the workflow was stuck earlier, but I'll explain a little bit. I'll explain how the workflow works. So that's how the whole process looks, and that's how it functions, and kind of this is what it looks like. And now I'm going to go ahead and get into sort of show you sort of the nuances of how it got created and how there are a lot of little weird things that I had to figure out in there that to make that work. Like, for example, having the workflow has to wait until all 3 tasks are done, but they're never going to be done in the same order necessarily. So that was a tricky thing I had to figure out. And making sure that all the tasks are going to be able to show on the dashboard. They have to have a lookup field, so I had to figure that out. So there was a sort of like evolution of this workflow as I created it, as I came across struggles and things that that SharePoint couldn't do. I figured out my way around them. And again, I didn't use any of the out of the box, task process designer or anything as I went. So what I'm going to do now is, so I've got about 20 minutes left or so, and I'm going to go start building this, and then, again, I'm not going to be around next week. Someone else is going to be doing a demo of something, hint, hint, but then I'll continue it the week after that. All right, so here is, this is our HR onboarding site. I'm going to create a new one, and I'm going to just call it something similar.
Matthew asks how we got those 4 graphics. I think he's talking about the promoted links.
Okay, Matthew, that is the promoted links list. So that is a new type of list that exists in SharePoint 2013, and I'll build that out as part of building the solution out. All right, new subsites. Let's call it OB2. All right. This is sorry, the keyboard's so loud. Let me see if I can. There we go. This is going to have a lot more like waiting and crickets chirping and like tedious creating list fields, but we have all the time in the world, right?
Yep.
Okay, so this is an example of a promoted links list. This is what comes on your team site already, so I'm just going to remove that one. All right, so here's my onboarding site. Now what I'm going to do is, behind the scenes, I'm going to go open up my onboarding site, just my other one, just in another window, so I can just use it for reference. And I'm going to create a new list. So I'm going to do add an app, and this is going to be my new hires list. So I'll go do custom list, new hires. I try to get in the habit of putting spaces in my list names, and I used to mash the words together like that, and I've learned recently that search actually uses those words, and and to be able to find things, and it will know that an underscore is a space or a hyphen is a space, but if you mash words together, it doesn't ever index those 2 words. So anyway, that's why I started using an underscore. So I do that, and then I go in here and then just quickly change it, and I'll say yes, I want to show it on the quick launch. All right, so there are a couple of ways that I can go in here and create my fields. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to do this as a content type and site columns. I'm going to start and do it the right way. Okay, so I'm going to create a content type and call it new hires, and I'm going to build it out that way. All right, so I'm going to start as go to my site settings, site content types, do a new one, new hire. And I'm actually going to start from a contact, because a contact has got a lot of those fields that I need already, like their name and their address and city and state and stuff like that. And also a good thing about a contact content type is going to be the fact that I can connect that to Outlook if I want to later. So that'll be helpful. If I start as a custom one, then I can't connect it to Outlook. So I'm going to call this new group a new hire group. Now the reason I'm starting with A is just because I want it to go to the top when I'm looking at all of my my list of content types. There. So now when I'm looking at all my site content types, I see it like this group goes way up here. So it just puts it there. So then now I have my content type. It's already got a lot of the fields that I'm going to need, and that's where I can go start customizing this and putting additional fields that I might need. So let's see. Hiring manager, that's one. So I'll go add from new site column. Manager, I think I already used manager spelled out, but I'm going to make this a people field. And technically I could make this look at a SharePoint group and only find people that exist in a certain SharePoint group of managers down here. So if I had managers, I could do that. I'm going to do a new hire group here. Y'all let me know, Andy or somebody, if there are questions, because now I kind of got that screen hidden.
Will do.
Who is the hiring manager? And this text is going to show up on the form. Have it very descriptive. Okay. Hiring manager, okay. Now I'm back to my content type where I can keep adding from new site columns. Another one that I'm going to need is, that's not already in here, employee type. And I'm going to make that a choice. Put that in my new hire group there. And I had, let's see, executive, corporate, and operations. I want corporate to be the default. So when you have a business solution that you're building like this from scratch, you have the luxury of being able to do it right and actually do site columns and content types around it instead of just putting everything in the list, because it's going to be beneficial later when you're wanting to just do some more things, like if you wanted to do if you want to use some of these columns in other lists, like for example my task list is going to need to have some of these fields in it, right? So my new hire account is another one, and I remember I have that one that I have to actually put in the task too. Oops. And that's going to be another people field. And put that in there. And like I was mentioning, you could make it a SharePoint group. It would have to be people that are in the SharePoint group. So there isn't really a way with a workflow to make sure people are in a SharePoint group, or to put them in it, unfortunately. Okay, so there's my new hire account, and I'm going to do a new hire status field. Like that. And that is going to be choice. Now, a lot of this part I know is tedious. I'm probably going to lose. Yeah, I can see people dropping off, but I'm losing people. But this is, as I'm going, I'm talking. This is just kind of the boring part, but we're going to get into the troubleshooting, maybe next time. Onboarding progress, HR approval. Orientation, and then completed. There. Default is new. I'm gonna have more that I'm gonna be adding kind of as I go, but what I'm going to show you is kind of the thought process around why I'm adding some of these, because I have a couple of other ones that I add later. When I start figuring out the logic around the parallel task, I realized that I had to create a new field to start counting the parallel tasks that were completed. But I'm gonna walk you through that and add it as I go, so you can see kind of the whole troubleshooting process. So now that I've got my content type created, so what I can do is, now what I did was I created this new hires list, but then I remembered that instead of needing a custom list, I wanted to make it a contacts list so that I can connect it to Outlook if I want to. So that's part of one of those things that I'm glad I sat down and thought through it and created the content type and realized that there was a nice content type that had all those fields that exist already. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to get rid of it, and I'm going to create it as a contacts list and add that content type that I created to that. Now I could add the contact list content type to my new hires custom list that I created, but you wouldn't get the same effect because you wouldn't be able to connect it to Outlook. So again, a lot of these things you're going to see me kind of do and rethink and redo, and it's because I do like you to be able to see that whole process of realizing why you do one thing over another. There we go. And go change the name of it again. I'll just call it new hire list, whatever. And display it on the quick launch. And then here's where we get to the part with the content type. So in order to make it so that we can manage the content type, we have to turn that on. And now we see contact as the default, and I can go add my one that I created myself, new hire demo. Before I do that, I actually have some fields that I want to hide some of them, because when people are filling out a new contact, a new hire, I don't necessarily want them to have to see all those fields and fill them all out, because some of them are irrelevant. So I'm not necessarily going to remove some of these, but I still want to use some of them, but I want to just hide them. I am going to remove a couple, and I'm just going to go ahead and do that before I add the content type to the list. So I'm going to go back to site settings, go back to the content type, and go in here. All right, so a couple of them are already hidden, like last name phonetic and stuff like that. Job title, I am going to need that. Business phone, home phone, I don't think I need home phone. Whatever, fax number, who uses that, right? I'm just going to remove that.
They still have those machines?
People still use faxes. I mean, come on. Country, I don't need that. Web page, no. Now I've got, those are pretty, I mean, those are pretty much, I need the, full name. I need full name, but I'm just going to hide full name, because I'll just do something like set the full name field via workflow and not make them have to fill out last name, first name, and full name. Email, I'm going to hide that, because we haven't set up their email account yet when they're filling out a new hire, right? So company, I'm going to just default that to Contoso. I'll just do that later. Hold on. Default that. And the job title, I do need it. Business phone, home phone, sure. Business phone, we don't have that yet either. We're going to do that via workflow. And see, I do need all this stuff when they're filling out a new one. All these ones down here, let's see, hiring manager, I need that. Employee type, I do need them to fill that out. New hire account, we're not going to get that till later, so I can just hide it. And hiring status is not something that they're going to fill out themselves. That's a status field that I'm going to be using behind the scenes that I don't want people editing. So now I've gone through and I think I've gotten a lot of these to where I could still tweak it later, but so I'll go ahead and go to the list. Another thing, a pet peeve of mine when I create lists is this attachments thing. I'm not going to need attachments anywhere in this system that I'm doing, this new hire system, so I'm just going to disable attachments. I usually do that because if you leave them in there and you don't need them, then a lot of the times it confuses the end users. Matthew says, why do you need company unless you have multiple companies? Yeah, good point. Whatever. I might just default it to our company name or something like that. Good point. I'm probably just going to... the reason I'm repeating my answer twice is because it's recording my answer when I hit to select my answer in the Q&A, and sometimes I'll start talking before I click that, so then I'm answering it again. Okay. All right, now I'm going to add it. And I've got in my little new hire group, my new hire demo. Okay, so now I can get rid of contact because I don't need it. And now new hire demo is my only content type, and now when I go fill out a new item, there it is. Last name, first name, company, blah, 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 hiring manager, employee type. So a lot of just basic stuff. Now I'm going to go and I have to think through some other things. So I have to think through the links that they're going to be clicking on when they're on the home page. So that's going to be my promoted links list. I'll go ahead and create that. So that's add an app. And the promoted links. I wish it had a better icon for promoted links in here because it looks just like a custom list. Okay, now I've got my new hire list and my new hire links. Now, for promoted links, you are going to need to say what the link is going to be and like what image you're going to use and where exactly it's going to point to and what it's going to be called and all these things. So I don't have a lot of this information yet. So what I'm going to do is I have to figure out, first of all, where are they going to when they click this new hire button. So I'll go to my new hire list and click new item, and now I have, this is the link that we need. So I'll go ahead and click copy that, and then go to my links list, create a new item, and then let's see, new hire fill out, new, and skip over to link location and paste that. I'll put that in a notepad for a second and show you. This source stuff at the end, that's where it's going to take them after they go to the new hire form. I like to just take them back to the home page. So I'm just going to go like that. That's HR/OB2, which is my URL to my home page. So I'm just going to take them there instead of taking them to that new hire list itself. So I'll just paste that in there, and then I'll just do it in a dialog. I want it to pop up so that they don't navigate to a whole other web page. So let's go see what that looks like when I click on it. I'll go to my new hire links, click that, and now look, it pops up in a nice pretty little box. Cool, so now I have to stick that on my home page, so I'll go home, edit, oops, I went too far up. Hold on a second. I went up to the home, like the main home page, the top level home page, and I'll stick it right there. It's actually an app part, new hire links, and you could find it in the list of web parts too. So now that's how I got that on my home page. Somebody was asking, and then I would need to have the pretty little picture that it's going to point to. So over in my, let's see, where did I put all my pictures? I think I put them on my home page, which I'll just open up over here. In my site collection, I think I'm just putting everything in my site collection images as I do stuff in my virtual environment, so that it's just all, all in one place. So filling out a new hire form, I thought I put it in here. Maybe it's on the it's on the next page. Yeah, that's weird how it only goes to like the middle of the page, and then you don't have any more, and then but you're still on anyway. So this is the one I need, this writing one. So I'll go ahead and right-click and grab that shortcut, and then go back to my new hire links and be able to edit this, which is like 15 clicks just to be able to edit one of these things, right, Andy?
Yeah.
And hit save. Now, when I go to my home page, look how pretty that is.
Nice.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to stop now, just to be able to wrap it up. But that is the beginning of building the whole thing from scratch, and we'll be starting on the workflow next time and all the different content types in the task list and stuff like that. So I'll update when you go to our YouTube page. It's SharePoint, youtube.com/SharePoint RAX is the YouTube page. If you click on videos, and then there's a little drop-down box that'll say uploads by default. If you change that to say events, it will show you all the upcoming power hours. So I will update the title of like the next one where I'm going to continue doing this, so that you'll have those that you can add to your calendar. Right now I have some other topic in there. I didn't know I was going to need to extend this out, but let me stop sharing my screen. All right, so that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to just update that so people will know when what is coming up. All right, so today, share SP24 conference, sp24conf.com is doing a rewind. They're showing all the whole thing all over again. It's pretty cool. I think they said like 1,000 more people registered just the second time that they're showing it. So my session is actually in 3 hours. It's at 3 Central today that they're replaying, and I wrote a whole blog post, wonderlara.com. I wrote a blog post talking about that, talking how to get there, and I pasted in the whole Q&A that I had from the last time the session showed, and I answered a bunch of questions in there so that maybe you can read that ahead of time if you want. SharePoint Saturday in Atlanta and Baton Rouge is both of those on June 21st if anybody's interested in going to SharePoint Saturdays. What else is coming up, guys?
My SP24 is at 3 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow morning, so
3 a.m.
if anyone's awake then, feel free to watch.
And Joelle, don't you have one too?
Yeah, I do. No idea what time.
Okay. Anyway, thanks everybody for all your participation. I really appreciated all the feedback in the Q&A.
Carlos had a question at the very end. He says, I've tried to create a promoted link to start a new document set, but the URL is larger than 255 characters. Do you know of a workaround? My suggestion would be to start removing some of the query string that's on it, because a lot of it is just unnecessary, and just keep removing stuff until it works.
Oh, I forgot to hit the select button when we answered it.
Yeah.
Remove the ampersand source at the end of it and try it, like Andy said, try removing parts of your...
Yeah, especially like...
URL.
Well, I think you have to have content type on that one, but a lot of times you can remove content type, but I think you need it for document set.
All right. Cool. And thanks, Andy. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for coming. And we'll see you next week, same time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.